Well, this movie was confusing. Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So last night I got to sit down and watch a new movie, Antebellum. Antebellum is a 2020 American horror film written and directed by Gerard and Christopher Renz, and it also stars Janelle Monáe in the lead role. Overall guys, I will say I did enjoy this movie. I actually thought it had some really interesting concepts, really interesting ideas. For me though, at the same time, it just wasn't pulled off too well. As always guys, I am going to start with my positives. There is definitely quite a few positives I have with the movie. For one, I will say guys, I really enjoyed the directing in this film. I thought it was quite well directed, as well as that the cinematography worked in every aspect of the film. So in that context, I think they did everything they could right, as well as that the costume design was spot on. Just the different kind of fabrics, the different color tones they used throughout the movie, both in the kind of main part of the film, as well as when we get our twist. They all worked extremely well. Janelle Monae as well, she actually is perfectly cast in the movie. I think she gives a fine performance throughout. Now I do think the script doesn't allow her to kind of go as far as she wanted to maybe, but her performance is perfect. She kind of gives as much as she can possibly give with what she's written. I also like Gabourey Sidibe in the movie. I will say guys, one thing I was disappointed with is she's not actually in as much of the movie as I thought she would be. I know at the time I think she was actually asked to come onto this project and kind of work with this cast, but she's not really in too much of the film overall. She's in a couple of scenes. Her character was actually one of my favourite characters in the entire movie. I had a lot of fun with her character. I thought she was quite interesting, but we just don't see enough of her. Plotting the entire concept of the film as well is actually quite intriguing, it's quite interesting, but again, I just don't think they did enough with it. There's a lot of moments in this movie where you can kind of see the direction they're going in, and then it just kind of fizzles out, or it gets a little bit too overblown and over the top. The movie opens up with this pretty harrowing, tragic, uncomfortable scene to watch. It does kind of set us up for what the rest of the movie will be like. And the first 40 minutes of the movie are actually done extremely well. I bought into this film. I was right there with these characters, going through these traumas. But once we reach that kind of middle mark of the movie, once the big twist gets revealed, it does start to fizzle out. I will say guys, I enjoyed the twist. I thought it was done brilliantly. But again, just the script didn't live up to what it could have been. Certain characters in this one, just the villainous characters more than anything, come across as quite one-dimensional. They're over the top and they just don't seem believable. As well as that, there is no world building at all in this movie. We know these characters are in this situation, this predicament, but we do not know why they're there. The movie doesn't really explain how this whole thing happened, why these characters aren't really fighting back, and why they're stuck in these surroundings. And that is one thing that did annoy me quite a bit through the film. We don't really see any explanation as to why any of this is actually happening. It gave us nuggets of information as the film went on. Every now and again, we'd get a little clue as to what was actually happening. And for me anyway, I kind of figured out the big twist maybe halfway through. I wasn't sure if I was meant to figure it out at that time because they were just giving us little bits of information. But then when we get to the final act of the movie and this big reveal is made, it's kind of made out that you weren't supposed to know the twist at that point. But it's kind of hard not to, the way they kind of give you this information. So for me, that was definitely confusing, and I do think again they could have done more with it. That's my main kind of issue with this movie, is the concept and the idea are really intriguing and really interesting. They just don't pull it off. And because of the torture and the slavery we get throughout this movie, the brutal and uncomfortable scenes, it could come across more as torture porn than anything else. Now, I don't think it is torture porn in this movie, but I do still think they come very close to that. And I do think another factor to that is actually Jena Malone's character, Elizabeth. Again, it's a great concept. She's a really interesting character, but she comes off as quite one-dimensional. We don't know anything about her or any of the other villains in this movie. We don't know what their purpose is, why they are doing this, and it just doesn't really ground the character at all. As well as that, her accent is a little bit distracting in the movie. She comes across as quite over the top, like this kind of hokey super villain throughout the movie. Certain actions she does as well, they don't really make too much sense. You can't really keep up with what she is doing. Saying all that though, I do still recommend you watch the movie. It has some really good moments in there, it has a great cast, and it looks absolutely stunning. Of course, yes, the plot isn't as good as I wanted it to be. I do think they squandered that mainly because of the writing, but overall it's a movie you can throw on, you can still enjoy what it's trying to say. It does of course have a message somewhere down there, not to let these racist people gain power, and to be on the watch for what could actually happen. The movie, it's a mess at times, it is quite muddled, but it's still a watchable movie. I was honestly really excited about this one. What I would say is if you give this one a watch, maybe just lower your expectations. It may not be the movie you're expecting it to be. I do think they kind of focus a little too much on the twist in this movie. I think if the twist just came in the second act, in the middle of the movie, and they left it there, you could enjoy the rest of the film. Certain characters, they do make strange decisions. You don't really know why they are in the situation they're in. And I think if they kind of focused more on that for the last act of the movie, it could have come across as quite a strong contender for one of the better movies of the year. But guys, the movie is currently on demand. If you can, go check it out. Come back here and let me know what you thought of the film. Do you agree with my review, or do you completely have a different idea of what you liked about it? As always guys, if you can, make sure you give the video a big thumbs up if you like the content, subscribe to the channel and follow me on social media, and I will see you in the next one.